Welcome back to Hortensia Speaks. We're here with a new episode today. If you have been following, then you know that we have been in series 1 on Saul and David. Today we're going to be talking about how to deal with jealousy and envy and the dangers of a jealous and envious person. I just want to start by saying that a jealous person will do everything in their power to destroy you, to try to be you, or get others to be against you. A lot of times, either we are deceived and we don't recognize the jealous traits that are in a person, or we do recognize it and we just want to brush it off. We don't want to come off as arrogant, this false humility. It is so dangerous to be displaying false humility when you have a jealous person on your hands, because you don't know the levels that they would go to try to destroy you. I have dealt with that. Growing up in a small town, I realized that there are a lot of small-minded people. Not everybody, but there are some small-minded people in small towns. And a lot of the times, people didn't really know me. They didn't know who I was. They just had heard of me. They knew probably where I lived or whatever the case may be. And I have always been extremely introverted. I have kept a small circle of friends, for my own good. And I have always been shy. And although I am a teacher and everything, it's so different when you are in front of kids, because kids will accept you the way you are. You can be yourself, but then it's a different thing. Like if someone asked you to grab a microphone and get in front of 100 people, 200 people, for me, that makes me nervous. So I have never been the type of person that wants to go into a space and draw attention to myself. Like, no, I'm more so the person kind of in the back, quiet, just really reading the room, not just, hey, pick me here. That has never been me. And so because I've always been so introverted and quiet, and I guess my natural facial expression is like a mean mug, I didn't really realize that people would have preconceived notions about me. Like, oh, look at her, she thinks she's pretty. Or, oh, she dressed nice, but oh, I can tell that she's stuck up, or she thinks that she's better than someone. And I would be like, well, where does this even come from? I've never said that. I don't even really talk to anybody. You're not even giving me a chance. You're just judging a book by its cover. And what I realized is that it was pure jealousy. You don't even have to have done anything wrong to hurt or harm a person for someone to be jealous of you. They could be jealous just because of what they don't know about you, because maybe your life is a mystery to them, or maybe because you don't do things the way they do things. You don't walk the way they walk. You don't talk the way they talk. You don't live the same life as them. That can cause a person to be jealous as well. A lot of times people know, well, I'll change that. A lot of times people see the glory, but they don't know your story. Everybody has been through ups and downs in their life, but sometimes a person who is weak-minded or small-minded may not know what you've been through. And so because they don't know the struggles that you have endured in life, they become jealous because they think you have it all together. They think that your life have always been together. And that's not even the case. I am far from perfect. I have been through so much stuff, and I thank God I don't look like what I've been through. But sometimes people can be jealous. So yeah, I've been in situations like that with people being in secret competition but supposed to be my friend, or having a covet spirit and things of that nature. But God has really revealed to me more about that. In the Bible, it talks about the dangers of jealousy and envy. In James 3:16, it says, "For where there is jealous and selfish ambition, there will be disorder in every vile practice." Proverbs 27:4 says, "Wrath is cruel, anger is overwhelming, but who can stand before jealousy?" That is so powerful. A person can be mad, they can be upset, but man, a jealous person, you don't know the levels that a jealous person will go to. And even when I was speaking about the covet spirit, that's very dangerous as well, because sometimes it can look like that a person is copying you, is imitating you, doing everything that they do because they are inspired. In actuality, they could be actually jealous. They could be actually jealous, going after everything that you go after, getting in everything that you get, want everything that you have, want to go everywhere every single thing about you. Every time you look around, they're copying, they're trying to imitate everything about you. And sometimes you will have people in your life that are supposed to be friends and they have a covet spirit. You have to be really careful how close you get to them, how much you allow them into your space, because dealing with a covet person is not good. Exodus 20:17 tells us about that we should not covet. We should not want what other people have. Here's the thing. What's for you will be for you. I promise you, if there's a blessing out there with your name on it, God is not going to let that blessing pass you by. Only person who can mess that up is you. But trust me, if you see that God has blessed somebody else, he has done something for somebody else, be happy for them. Be happy. Cheer them on. And know that the same God that blessed them can bless you. He can do it for you too. And in James 4:2, it talks about you desire what you don't have, so you murder. You covet what you cannot contain, so you fight and you quarrel. But then it ends with, but you haven't asked in my name. That is so important, because John 14:14 tells us that we can ask God and we shall receive it. If you ask God for anything in his name and it's in his will, and that's what God desired for you, you will receive it. You know, and there's so many examples of jealousy in the Bible. And I'm only going to just discuss a few of them. But one of the very first ones is, of course, Cain and Abel. How can we forget that one, right? The story of Cain and Abel in Genesis 4. When Abel killed his brother out of pure jealousy and rage, right? Then we have the prodigal son and his older brother. That's another example. The prodigal son rebelled against his father. He left home, he came back, he repented, and his dad welcomed him with open arms, was so excited, they celebrated him. And the older brother was jealous, like, wait a minute, now I've never left your side, and you gonna do all this for him? Pure jealousy. We also know the story of Joseph and his brothers. Joseph was a prophetic dreamer. And when he would share his dream with his family and brothers, they were jealous about it. So they plotted against him. They threw him in an empty well and sold him as a slave. But you know what? When Joseph had the power to seek revenge on them, he didn't. And that's how God wants us to be. He doesn't want us to seek revenge. And even the story of Rachel and Leah, we have those two sisters there. And it was a very serious situation. Jealousy definitely came into play because Rachel was very pretty and was able to conceive and have children. Leah, on the other hand, did not have the same features as Rachel, and she was barren. So that caused a lot of jealousy and strife between them. You can read about that in Genesis 29. You can read about Joseph and his brothers in Genesis 37. I forgot to mention that. The biggest example of all is in the New Testament, the story with Jesus and the Pharisees. We see how jealous those religious people were. They were so jealous, so jealous. They were jealous of the light that Jesus carried and the truth that he spoke. And they conspired against him. We know that. And they tried to kill him. But they didn't know that he would raise on the third day. But he definitely did. The one that I really want to focus on is the story of Saul and David. If you've been following me and listening to the episodes, then you know about Saul and David already. Saul was extremely jealous of David to the point to where he starts seeking mediums. Yes, a jealous person will go that far as nation, witchcraft. And we know the Bible speaks clearly about that witchcraft is not of God. He is not pleased with that. In Leviticus and in Galatians and other scriptures as well. But I encourage you to read those too for sure. But yeah, I mean, Saul did everything in his power to try to kill David. Like he wasn't giving up. Like he wasn't going to give up at all. But here's the thing about it. Although Saul was doing all of that to David, God still told David that he could not hurt or harm Saul because Saul was his anointed one. That's what God said in 1 Samuel 24. And I still just really couldn't process that at first. I'm like, wait a minute. Saul is doing all this evilness. Every time he's around David, he's trying to kill him. And you mean to tell me God is telling him? Allow God to seek revenge, for us not to do that. So basically God was telling David, look, no, I got you covered. I got your back. You don't have to fight fire with fire. Let me handle it, son. And because of that, David knew that he had to stay in his lane, no matter what Saul was doing. But I think what I really got out of that situation between Saul and David was that God loves jealous people too. God loves our enemies too. That's so important. I just want you to soak that in. God loves our enemies and jealous people too. The people that hate us, God still loves them. And we must remember that. We have to remember that. You know, it's so important. And another thing that I really love about how David handled Saul. David had a discerning spirit. He knew how to feed Saul a long-handled spoon. He knew how far to go with Saul. He knew the heart of man, David did. And so because David knew the heart of man, he watched his back with Saul. And yes, he still served Saul as God desired him to, but you better believe that he knew how far to go with Saul. And that's how we have to be. You know, God will fight our battle for us, but we have to pray and ask for a discerning spirit so that we are able to be vigilant and be on guard, love people from a distance, watch our backs around them, but most importantly, to pray for them. We should strive to have a heart like David had towards a jealous and envious person like Saul. It's just so important. It's really so important. And what I also realize is that sometimes when we're dealing with a jealous person and they have maybe hurt us, they backstabbed us, or they weren't who we thought they were, a lot of times we can take it to social media. And I'm not really sure if that's what God wants us to do. I'm not sure he wants us to do that. You know, that energy that we have, that hurt and pain, we should just take it to God. Pray for them. Pray for them. Pray that God will deliver them, because sometimes when people are jealous, it's because they have an identity issue. They haven't found their identity through Christ. And so because they haven't found their identity through Christ, they want what other people have. They're jealous and mad because someone else got something that they don't have, you know. So we have to really pray for them. You could be in the dark about it. You could have someone close to you that are displaying signs and have the traits of a jealous person, and continuing to keep them around can cause more damage than good. So I really, really hope that you have enjoyed listening to this episode today, because it has been a pleasure being able to talk about this. And I share my story not to, you know, put myself on a pedestal or anything like that. So I don't ever want anyone to believe that I share my story because of that. I share my story to help someone else in hopes that maybe they can relate to what I've been through and things of that nature, you know. And if you are still dealing with jealousy, if you're still dealing with envy, again, take it to God. You know, when I first started dealing with people that I knew did not have good intentions for me and were displaying jealousy traits, I didn't handle it right. I didn't go about it the right way. I did not make the right choices, and the way I handled them, the way I approached them, the way I went about it was not right. It was not the way God wanted me to do it. But now that I have learned, you know, I don't have to fight fire with fire. I don't have to go back and forth with people on social media about it. I can pray for them, leave it in God's hand. Now, that doesn't mean that, you know, I'll let someone walk all over me or mistreat me or things of that nature, try to humiliate me or disrespect me. You know, I'm going to always stand my ground, and because I'm saved, not soft. Okay? I am saved, not soft, and I hope you are too. You don't have to be anyone's punching bag or anything like that. You can pray for people, love them from a distance, and still make it clear that you're not going to tolerate it. Whatever you do, don't ever dim your light. Keep being you. You are favored, you are loved, you are blessed. You carry a light inside of you. Don't let what anybody say or do, don't let a jealous person, an envious person, a hater, ever make you walk around with your head down. Hold your head up and smile and know that God loves you and he wants the best for you. And you may not can control what other people say, do, or think about you, but you can control the way you respond to them. So remember that always, the next time you are faced with a jealous or envious person. So I hope you have enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next time with Hortensia Speaks.